Cancer, welcome to your full moon reading. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the full moon in Cancer happening on January the 13th. A lot of really interesting messages for this full moon. Let's see what messages we have for you, Cancer, as this full moon is right in your sign here. Ooh, the Devil card. Wow. It's right away starting the reading with this message of I've got to set myself free from things that I may be feeling a bit vulnerable, right? Knight of Cups in reverse can often be that something has created a heart wall where we're not moving forward towards things that we love because we're afraid we'll get hurt. We're afraid of being vulnerable. We don't want to be seen. That may be exactly the pattern this Devil card is saying, I got you. You know, as long as I've got you, you're not going to move forward to things that you may feel are an emotional risk. And, you know, that's going to keep things in a holding pattern. Interesting to see Temperance. I love this combination where there's this devil energy saying, I got you. You're not free as long as I've got a hold on you here. And you've got Temperance saying, let this move. Don't feel like you have to stay trapped here. And look at the bigger picture to see where am I feeling like I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to move towards things that are an emotional risk because I don't want to get hurt again. I always think the Knight of Cups reverses itself when we're literally backing up from things because we're like, oh, that could be amazing, but it could also be devastating. So, you know, and Temperance is saying you've got to balance that energy out. Look at the bigger picture. Do some reflecting. Set yourself free, Cancer. Set yourself free. Look at all these major arcana cards coming out. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. You may really be focused on this sort of Four of Cups on the bottom where you're feeling like, well, you know, I feel a certain way about the past and that's what's going to keep happening. You know, like right now this Four of Cups is making me think that you're painting the future with the same brush from the past. And Temperance is saying, I'm bringing you new energy. Allow this redirection to set you free. But emotionally, you might be thinking nothing ever works out for me and nothing ever will. And, you know, you might be thinking, well, if I move towards that opportunity, I could get rejected again. And so it's safer to just stay where I am. That seems to be the focus I'm getting in this reading is safety, this desire for safety, this desire for something that feels predictable, even if it's keeping you in the familiar hell, it's at least known to you. You know, it's like, well, I know how to deal with this. Temperance is saying, there could be a whole other way of perceiving this. Let this pass. This too shall pass if you let it. But I think right now you're more focused on safety, Cancer. What's at the root? Ten of Cups with the Three of Pentacles. Wow, what's at the root for you is so much freedom and fulfillment and balance and this complementary energy that has this very sort of conscious selection process around it with the Three of Pentacles where you're choosing your collaborators, you're choosing the people around you very methodically and carefully. Hierophant in reverse, again, this energy that says I might not be able to sort of see a new way of doing things. I might not see the benefit of that. And this card in reverse just feels like it's time to throw out that model and start with one that's new and unfamiliar. And that may be why that Knight of Cups was in reverse, because it feels like there's this emotional risk in your reading, and yet what's at the root tells me there's stability and fulfillment that await you. But you might not think of it that way right now. You might be thinking, oh, but there's a big risk. I could get hurt, you know, or this might not work out. You may need to be a bit more ready to trust. Again, Page of Wands, Six of Swords in the past. Six of Swords Nine of Wands on the bottom in reverse, you've definitely had your share of something here that has taken a minute to try to get distance from. But even as we look at your past energy, Page of Wands, it's like you're being pushed into this new lane by getting distance from some stuff that you don't want to see ever again. That this may be exactly the root of why you might be feeling that self-protective energy of that Knight of Cups, where you've got this heart wall that's like, never again. I never want to experience that again. And yet, in some ways, it's draining you to stay in the old model. That Page of Wands is saying, let's discover ourselves in a new path then. You know, I wonder what the Fool, of course. I was just going to say, I wonder what's coming up for you. The Fool flying out, Nine of Wands staying on the bottom. You're resisting a new beginning because it may feel, like an emotional risk. It may feel like a gamble. But I almost wonder if you need to sort of be cautious, but open and cautious together, bringing balance so that you're not just cautious and you're not just jumping off the side of a cliff. You're being cautious because something here has taught you something about safety, but you're not moving at all in the current energy. I think you're standing still. And so that's going to be quite draining. You may need to persevere a bit here, Cancer. What's the inner shift for Cancer? Judgment. Trust what you've learned from your past, but don't stay focused on the losses. Trust what you've learned. You've learned something from this past experience, but I almost wonder if it's made you a bit hyper vigilant instead of just cautiously sort of approaching things that say, oh, I recognize that red flag. I recognize this from a past experience. As I'm moving forward, I can avoid certain things through these realizations if I'm not just focused on the potential for loss and lack. Five of Pentacles can really be like, I'll be out in the cold again. But I almost think that Judgment card is saying to you, you've had a realization, but you may be integrating that as like, I'm just going to stay exactly where it feels safe. And the Devil card is giggling at you saying, I got you. You won't move towards your highest potential as long as you're afraid. And so this full moon may be a time to release that fear and start to move forward again, cautiously, but moving forward. You know, Five of Wands in reverse. There's something about your uniqueness that may have pulled you away from a group. You know, Four of Cups earlier, you may have a fear of missing out. You may be still focused on that past. You know, sometimes the Six of Swords can be really described as something traumatic. There may be something complex about the past experience you've had that has left some trauma that has built that heart wall, and you're not allowing yourself to move forward. The Two of Swords can really feel like, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to look at this. I'll just stay right where I am. I'm not going to move forward. I'm just going to stay right where I am. But I can't help but think that your uniqueness deserves a chance to shine in its brightest, because, you know, there's that idea that be yourself, because then when someone's looking for you, they'll find you. But if you hide yourself, no one will find you, because you're camouflaging your authenticity because of a fear of vulnerability in some way here. Releasing that. Look at that. I love when the Devil and the Lovers appears in a reading, because it really makes me feel like then the devil doesn't have you anymore. You know, that message of saying, well, I got you right where I want you in that familiar hell. No, I think you're going to choose your uniqueness. And this is landing in where your hopes and fears are. It's the idea of stepping out again. It's the idea of being, you know, yourself out without any kind of camouflage, without any kind of like fear of vulnerability or authenticity. That's the fear. And I wonder if for some of you, it was a really bad relationship in some cases that, you know, had a very traumatic sort of effect on you that is keeping you trapped in the present because of what you experienced in the past. Two of Wands, Two of Swords. I mean, even that Fool card is sort of saying we can't stay here forever. We have to eventually move forward. And there's the Eight of Cups saying, I've got to leave this beach. If I stay here, I'm going to be stuck here forever. And so I can't help but think that, Cancer, your mission here is to turn this hurt and take the lesson from it and then get back out there. Don't hide within, but allow yourself to heal this so that it doesn't keep you stuck from moving forward. Feels like you're in a pattern where, yeah, you need to bring a big change in the wind. Absolutely. First card out of this Oracle deck, change in the wind, which is interesting because I always think the change in the wind card is trying to message the same energy of the Wheel of Fortune, and you've got Between Worlds on the bottom of the deck. So you're resisting something because you're feeling it'll make you too vulnerable. It'll put you out there as yourself. And Hierophant in reverse, Five of Wands in reverse. I can't help but think that you may have been in a situation where you may have been wearing a mask in order to belong, and it still didn't work out because you weren't being authentic. But you were, you may have thought, well, this is the only way I'm going to fit in. Now the outer shift says, screw that idea. I'm going to just be myself so that I can align in relationships that are complementary to my true self. And I'm going to walk away from the idea that says, I'm going to get hurt and I have to protect myself. You're crossing into an unknown, but there's this idea of being cautious and not moving, or being cautious and moving forward anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, wow, that's really a nice message, Cancer. I think it's time. Yeah, it's time. Just as I say, it's time. Time to go comes out. It's time to go. You can't stay here anymore. I know you've been hurt. Orphaned on the bottom is like the Five of Cups. It's, you've got that Six of Swords. Something really was instrumental in developing that heart wall that is now protecting you. But if you stay behind that protective wall, nothing will find you back there. You'll just be there by yourself, and it's time to go. Wow, that's very, very interesting message. Let's see from the Moonology deck for our full moon in Cancer, for Cancer. Don't let your pride get in the way is coming out with Believe in the Impossible. And I wonder if in some ways, for some of you, that heart wall is also protecting your pride. And it may be limiting what you believe is possible. On the other side of putting yourself out there again, you might be thinking, I'm not going to let that happen again. Like, forget it. I'd rather stay here in the familiar hell than branch out into the unknown. And the next card is a new romantic cycle begins. I'm telling you, there's an energy in this reading that makes me feel like if you don't put yourself out there as you, then when someone goes looking for you, they're not going to be able to find you. And you might go running in the other direction if someone even peeks in behind that wall, because there's something here that's like, I can't be that vulnerable again. I'm going to get hurt. And I certainly do feel like you have been hurt, but it does feel like this personal issue is going to reach resolution. And it's the full moon in Cancer card, which is exactly what this reading is trying to focus on. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is your moment, my friends. Bring love to the situation. Be authentic. Be yourself. Allow yourself to move forward. Cautiously take little steps, but move. Okay, that's the message I have for you, Cancer. Sending you lots of love and light, and we'll see you in the next reading. Take care, my friends.